the boy, the wallet, and the unexpected request. It was a chilly autumn morning in New York City, and the streets buzzed with life as usual. Among the crowds of well-dressed professionals and tourists stood 12-year-old Malik Johnson, a quiet boy from Harlem with big brown eyes and an old, worn-out hoodie. Life had never been easy for Malik. His mother worked 2 jobs to keep a roof over their heads, while his father was a distant memory, a ghost from a time long past. Malik had a routine. After school, he would help his mom by running errands around the neighborhood. Today, however, life had something extraordinary in store for him. As Malik made his way through Central Park, he noticed something lying on a bench. It was a black leather wallet, sleek and expensive-looking. Curious, Malik picked it up and glanced around, but no one seemed to be searching for it. Probably just some rich guy, Malik thought, opening the wallet to check for ID. His eyes widened as he stared at the driver's license. The name read, Donald J. Trump. The wallet was stuffed with cash, more money than Malik had ever seen in his life. There were credit cards, business cards, and even a folded-up piece of paper with a phone number written in neat handwriting. Malik blinked, unable to believe his luck. For a moment, he considered keeping the money. He thought about the bills his mom struggled to pay, the holes in his sneakers, and the fridge that was always half empty. It would be so easy to take it and disappear into the crowd. But something deep inside him stopped him. His mother's voice echoed in his mind. No matter how hard life gets, Malik, we always do the right thing. The decision. Malik made up his mind. He needed to return the wallet. But how do you return something to the most powerful man in the country? The boy turned the wallet over and found the contact number. He hesitated, then dialed it on a payphone nearby. After a few rings, a voice answered, formal and brisk. Trump Organization, how may I assist you? Malik's voice shook. I think I found Mr. Trump's wallet. The person on the other end paused. Is this some kind of joke? No, ma'am. I swear. It's got his ID and everything. There was a long silence before the woman spoke again, her tone serious. Stay where you are. Someone will come to meet you. The meeting. 30 minutes later, a black SUV pulled up beside the payphone. Out stepped 2 tall, serious-looking men in suits. One of them approached Malik. Are you the one who found the wallet? Malik nodded and handed it over. The man inspected it, then spoke into his earpiece. It's real. Let's take him to Mr. Trump. Malik's heart pounded as he was ushered into the SUV. They drove through the city, eventually arriving at Trump Tower. He was escorted through golden hallways until he found himself standing in a large office, face to face with Donald J. Trump, President of the United States. Trump looked down at the boy with a curious expression. So, you're the one who found my wallet? Malik nodded shyly. Yes, sir. It was on a bench in Central Park. Trump opened the wallet and saw that everything was still there. He smiled, a rare, genuine smile. Well, kid, you did the right thing. Not everyone would have. You could have taken the money and run. Malik shrugged. My mom says honesty's important, no matter what. The simple request. Trump chuckled. Smart woman. Tell you what, Malik. You could ask me for anything right now, a reward, a favor. What do you want? Malik hesitated, his eyes flickering with emotion. Anything? Trump nodded. Anything. Malik took a deep breath. Can you come to my school and talk to the kids? Tell them that we matter, that someone like you cares about kids like us? Trump raised an eyebrow, caught off guard. He had expected the boy to ask for money, a job for his mom, or a new pair of sneakers. But this was different. Why would you want that? Malik swallowed hard. Because people like me, we don't get to meet people like you. If you tell them they can be something, maybe they'll believe it. For a moment, the room was silent. Trump looked at Malik, genuinely moved by the boy's courage and selflessness. You've got guts, kid. I respect that. He extended his hand. You've got yourself a deal. The visit. A week later, Malik couldn't believe his eyes as a convoy of black SUVs rolled up outside his school in Harlem. Students gathered in the gymnasium, buzzing with excitement. Donald J. Trump himself walked onto the stage, flanked by security, and stood before the crowd of wide-eyed kids. He spoke about dreams, determination, and the power of doing the right thing, no matter how hard it seemed. He told them about Malik, the boy who could have taken the money but chose honesty instead. People like Malik are the future, Trump said, his voice steady. And if you work hard, stay true to yourself, and never give up, you can be anything you want to be. The crowd erupted in applause, and Malik stood at the side of the stage, a wide smile on his face. For the first time in his life, he felt seen, truly seen. A new beginning. In the weeks that followed, Malik's life changed. His story made headlines, and people from all over the country reached out to help him and his family. Offers of scholarships, mentorships, and support flooded in. But more than that, Malik became a symbol of hope, a reminder that even the smallest act of kindness can change everything. As for Donald Trump, he kept his promise. He stayed in touch with Malik, offering guidance and opportunities. And every time they spoke, Trump would end the conversation the same way. You've got a bright future, kid. Don't ever forget that. Malik never did. Chapter 2: An Unexpected Offer. A few months had passed since the day Malik met Donald Trump. Life in Harlem hadn't completely changed, but things felt different. People at school looked at Malik with newfound respect, and his story had inspired a local movement to support underprivileged kids. Even the mayor had publicly praised him. But Malik never let it go to his head. Stay humble, his mom always said. One cold evening, as Malik was finishing his homework at the small kitchen table, his mom's phone buzzed. She glanced at the screen and froze. Malik, it's the Trump Organization. Malik blinked. What? Why would they be calling? His mom put the call on speaker. Hello? A familiar voice echoed through the line. Hi, Mrs. Johnson. This is Donald Trump. I was wondering if I could speak to Malik. Malik's jaw nearly hit the floor. His mom gave him a look that said, "You better speak up." Hi, Mr. Trump. Malik. Good to hear your voice, kid. Listen, I've got an idea. I want to offer you something. Malik's heart raced. What kind of offer? How would you like to intern at the Trump Organization this summer? Trump's voice was warm but serious. We'll teach you about business, leadership, and give you experiences that most kids your age only dream of. Malik was speechless. An internship? That's right. You'll be learning from some of the best minds in the business world. You've got potential, Malik. I want to help you develop it. Malik looked at his mom, who nodded with a proud smile. I'd love to. Thank you, Mr. Trump. Great. My team will be in touch with the details. See you soon, Malik. As the call ended, Malik could barely contain his excitement. An internship, he exclaimed. Can you believe it, Mom? His mom pulled him into a hug. I can, baby. You've always been destined for big things. Chapter 3, Welcome to the World of Business. The summer came quickly, and Malik found himself standing in the gleaming lobby of the Trump Tower once again, only this time, he wasn't just a visitor. He wore a crisp shirt and tie, a gift from his mom, and carried a brand new notebook. You're going to learn so much here, said Ms. Rodriguez, his assigned mentor. She was a sharp, kind woman who had been with the company for over a decade. It might be intimidating at first, but just remember, you've earned your place here. Malik spent his first week soaking up knowledge like a sponge. He learned about finance, marketing, and real estate. He attended meetings, took notes, and asked a million questions. The executives were surprised by how quickly he picked things up. But it wasn't all easy. One afternoon, during a high-pressure meeting about a new hotel project, Malik made a mistake while presenting some numbers. The room fell silent, and all eyes turned to him. His palms grew sweaty, and for a moment, he thought he might cry. Then, Donald Trump himself spoke up. Relax, Malik. Everyone makes mistakes. What matters is how you handle it. Take a deep breath and try again. Malik nodded, corrected the error, and finished his presentation. Trump gave him a thumbs up. That's what I'm talking about. Chapter 4, The Dream Takes Shape. As the weeks went by, Malik began to dream bigger than ever before. One night, after a long day at the office, he sat with Trump in the executive lounge. Mr. Trump, can I ask you something? Of course, kid. What's on your mind? How did you know you wanted to be in business? Trump leaned back in his chair. It wasn't always obvious. But I've always loved building things, turning ideas into reality. That's what business is. It's about seeing potential where others don't. Malik thought for a moment. I want to help people like me, kids who don't get opportunities like this. Maybe I could start a business one day that supports inner-city schools. Trump smiled. That's a great idea. And you can do it. You've got the drive and the heart. Start small, build it up, and don't let anyone tell you it's impossible. Chapter 5, A New Path. By the end of the summer, Malik had transformed. He wasn't just a kid from Harlem anymore, he was a young man with a vision. His internship ended with a small ceremony where Trump personally handed him a certificate of completion. Malik, you've got a bright future ahead of you, Trump said in front of a room full of employees. I'm proud of what you've accomplished here. And remember, this is just the beginning. Tears welled up in Malik's eyes. Thank you, Mr. Trump. For everything. Epilogue, The Boy Who Changed Everything. Years later, Malik Johnson would go on to start a nonprofit organization dedicated to empowering underprivileged youth. His story became a beacon of hope for kids across the country. He often gave speeches at schools, just like he had once asked Trump to do. And no matter how successful he became, Malik never forgot where it all started, with a wallet on a park bench, a choice to do the right thing, and a simple request that changed 2 lives forever. Chapter 6, The Rise of a Leader. 10 years had passed since that fateful summer. Malik Johnson, now in his early 20s, stood tall and confident. His nonprofit organization, Future Builders, had grown into a national movement. The organization provided mentorship programs, scholarships, and resources for underprivileged youth across America. Malik had become a familiar face on TV, giving interviews about his work and speaking at conferences. Politicians and business leaders praised him for his vision and determination. His story had inspired millions. But as his fame grew, so did the pressure. One day, while sitting in his modest office in Harlem, Malik received an unexpected phone call. "Malik, it's me, Donald." Malik smiled. "Mr. Trump. It's been a while." "Too long," Trump said. "Listen, I've been following everything you're doing. I'm impressed. Really impressed. But I think it's time for you to take things to the next level." Malik raised an eyebrow. "What do you mean?" "Politics." Malik nearly dropped his phone. "Politics? Me? No way. I'm not a politician." "Neither was I," Trump said with a chuckle. "But here's the thing, the country needs leaders like you, people who care about the future, who understand what it means to struggle and overcome. Think about it." Malik sat in silence for a moment. The idea seemed ridiculous. Him? Running for office? But the more he thought about it, the more it made sense. He had seen firsthand how broken the system was. Maybe he could do something about it. "I'll think about it," Malik finally said. "Good," Trump replied. "When you're ready, you've got my support." Chapter 7: The Campaign Begins. A year later, after much deliberation, Malik made a bold announcement. He was running for city council in New York City. His campaign focused on education reform, youth empowerment, and affordable housing. Malik's candidacy sent shockwaves through the political world. The media couldn't get enough of him, the young, charismatic leader with a powerful backstory. Some called him a future star in American politics, others criticized him for his lack of experience. But Malik wasn't easily shaken. He hit the streets, knocking on doors, holding town hall meetings, and listening to the people. He spoke from the heart, sharing his own experiences and his vision for a better city. "I'm not a career politician," Malik told a crowd at a rally. "I'm just a kid from Harlem who believes we can do better. I'm running because I know what it's like to feel forgotten, and I won't stop until every kid in the city knows they matter." The crowd roared with applause. Chapter 8: The Turning Point. As election day approached, the race grew tighter. Malik's opponents launched attack ads, painting him as too young, too inexperienced, and too idealistic. The pressure mounted, and Malik began to feel the weight of it all. One night, he sat in his apartment, staring at the city skyline. His phone buzzed with a text from Trump. "Keep going. You're stronger than you think." Malik smiled. He needed that. The next morning, Malik returned to the campaign trail with renewed determination. He doubled down on his message, refusing to be distracted by negativity. Chapter 9: Victory and Responsibility. Election night was electric. The results came in slowly, and for hours, it was too close to call. Malik paced nervously in his campaign headquarters, surrounded by friends, family, and supporters. Finally, just after midnight, the announcement came. Malik Johnson has been elected to the New York City Council. Cheers erupted. Malik's mom hugged him tightly, tears streaming down her face. "You did it, baby. You really did it." Malik stepped onto the stage, the weight of the moment sinking in. He looked out at the sea of faces, kids who had once felt invisible, just like he had. "This victory isn't just mine," Malik said, his voice steady. "It belongs to every kid who's been told they'll never make it. It belongs to every family struggling to get by. This is just the beginning. Together, we're going to build a future where no one gets left behind. Chapter 10, A New Chapter. As Malik settled into his new role, he quickly proved that he wasn't just a symbol, he was a force for real change. He passed legislation to improve funding for public schools, launched programs to support young entrepreneurs, and worked tirelessly to bridge the gap between communities and government. But Malik never forgot his roots. He continued to mentor kids from Harlem, always reminding them that they were capable of greatness. And every once in a while, when things got tough, he'd receive another call from Trump. "How's it going, Councilman?" Trump would say with a laugh. "Ready to run for mayor yet?" Malik would chuckle. "One step at a time, Mr. Trump. One step at a time." Epilogue, the future awaits. Years later, Malik stood on the steps of City Hall, surrounded by supporters. He had come a long way from that boy in Central Park, and the journey was far from over. "The future belongs to those who believe in it," Malik told the crowd. "And if we work together, there's nothing we can't achieve." In the crowd, a familiar face smiled, Donald Trump, now retired from politics but still a mentor and friend. "I knew he'd get here," Trump said to a reporter. "He's got what it takes to change the world." And as Malik looked out at the city he loved, he knew that this was just the beginning of something even greater. The boy who once found a wallet had found his true calling, building a better world, one step at a time. Chapter 11, The Road to City Hall. Malik's work as a city councilman transformed his district. Schools received funding they had never seen before, small businesses in Harlem thrived under his support programs, and his name became synonymous with integrity and hard work. His ability to connect with people, from kids in public schools to business leaders, made him a rising star in politics. But Malik wasn't content with just one district. He wanted to help the entire city. "It's time," he told his mom one evening. "I'm running for mayor." His mom raised an eyebrow. "Mayor of New York City? That's no small thing, Malik." Malik smiled. "I know, but I've got to try. If I don't, who will?" Chapter 12, The Mayor's Race. Running for mayor of New York City was unlike anything Malik had ever done. His campaign headquarters buzzed with activity 24/7. Volunteers poured in from every borough, eager to support the man they believed could bring real change. His slogan was simple but powerful: a city for everyone. Malik's platform focused on three key areas: education and opportunity, expanding access to quality education and creating job training programs for young people; affordable housing, tackling the city's housing crisis and ensuring that no family was left without a home; community safety and trust, reforming law enforcement practices while fostering stronger relationships between police and communities. But not everyone was on his side. His opponents were seasoned politicians with deep pockets and powerful allies. The attacks started almost immediately. "He's too young. He's too idealistic. He doesn't understand how the city works." But Malik didn't back down. He crisscrossed the city, meeting with residents in parks, churches, and community centers. He listened to their concerns and spoke with the same authenticity that had won him hearts years ago. "I'm not here to make empty promises," he said at a rally in Brooklyn. "I'm here to build a city that works for everyone, not just the wealthy, not just the well-connected, but for every single New Yorker." Chapter 13, A Twist of Fate. With just a few weeks until Election Day, something unexpected happened. A massive storm hit New York City, causing widespread flooding and power outages. Neighborhoods across the city were devastated. Malik immediately jumped into action, not as a candidate, but as a leader. He organized relief efforts, set up shelters, and coordinated with local businesses to deliver food and supplies. He was on the ground day and night, helping families rebuild and ensuring that no one was left behind. The media caught wind of his efforts, and soon, every news channel was showing footage of Malik helping an elderly woman wade through knee-deep water to safety. "He's not just talking about change," one anchor said. "He's living it." Chapter 14, Election Night. Election night was a blur of nerves and anticipation. Malik sat with his team, watching the results come in. At first, it was too close to call. But as the night wore on, the tide began to shift in his favor. Finally, just after midnight, the announcement came. Malik Johnson has been elected the next mayor of New York City. The room erupted in cheers. Malik hugged his mom tightly, tears in his eyes. "We did it, Mom. We really did it." He stepped onto the stage outside his campaign headquarters, thousands of supporters cheering in the streets. Cameras flashed as Malik took a deep breath and looked out at the crowd. "Tonight, we made history," he began. "But this victory isn't about me, it's about us. It's about building a city where every child has a chance to succeed. A city where no one is forgotten. A city for everyone." The crowd roared with applause. Chapter 15, The Mayor of the People. Malik's time as mayor was marked by bold initiatives and groundbreaking reforms. He established free after-school programs in every borough, built thousands of affordable housing units, and launched a youth leadership academy to mentor the next generation of leaders. But he also faced challenges, budget crises, political opposition, and tough decisions that sometimes kept him awake at night. Through it all, he stayed true to his values, never forgetting why he had entered public service in the first place. One day, during a press conference, a reporter asked him, "Mayor Johnson, some are saying you're already being groomed for higher office. Any plans to run for governor or even president?" Malik smiled. "Right now, I'm focused on being the best mayor I can be. But who knows what the future holds?" Epilogue, the journey continues. Years later, Malik stood on a much larger stage, this time in front of the U.S. Capitol. He had come a long way from that day in Central Park when he found Donald Trump's wallet. "My journey started with a simple choice," he told the crowd. "A choice to do the right thing. That choice led me here. And I believe that every one of us has the power to make choices that change the world." Among the crowd, Donald Trump watched with a proud smile. "I told you he'd go far," Trump said to a nearby reporter. "The kid's got what it takes. Always did." And as Malik Johnson raised his hand to take the oath of office as President of the United States, he knew that his story was far from over. It was just the beginning of an even greater chapter. Chapter 16, The First Steps as President. The cold wind swept across the National Mall as millions gathered to witness history. Malik Johnson, now in his early 40s, stood tall at the podium on the steps of the U.S. Capitol. The oath had just been administered, and the weight of his new role, the President of the United States, settled on his shoulders. He gazed out at the sea of faces, some filled with hope, others with cautious skepticism. He knew that becoming president wasn't the end of the journey, it was the beginning of an even bigger challenge. "My fellow Americans," Malik began, his voice calm but resolute. "Today, we embark on a new chapter, not just for this country, but for every person who has ever felt unseen or unheard. This is your moment. This is our moment." The crowd erupted in applause, but Malik stayed focused. His speech wasn't about grand promises or partisan victories. It was about unity, healing, and progress. "We will face challenges. We will disagree. But we will do so together, not as enemies, but as neighbors, as one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Chapter 17, Trials and Triumphs. Malik's presidency was marked by turbulent times. The country faced significant challenges: a deep economic recession, environmental disasters, and growing political polarization. But Malik refused to give up or give in. He pushed forward with his agenda, focusing on rebuilding the country from the ground up. Economic recovery: Malik launched a massive infrastructure plan that created millions of jobs and revitalized struggling communities. Education reform: he expanded access to affordable education and brought technology to underfunded schools, ensuring that every child had a chance to thrive. Climate action: his administration passed sweeping environmental reforms, partnering with world leaders to combat climate change and invest in renewable energy. Despite fierce opposition, Malik's unshakable belief in the power of people, ordinary citizens, kept him going. He held town halls in small towns and big cities, always listening, always learning. Chapter 18, A Personal Crisis. But not every battle was fought in the public eye. One night, Malik found himself alone in the Oval Office, staring at the portraits of past presidents. The stress had taken its toll. He missed his family. His mother's health had started to decline, and the demands of the presidency often kept him away. He felt the loneliness that came with leadership, the feeling that no one truly understood the weight he carried. A soft knock interrupted his thoughts. It was Ms. Rodriguez, now his chief of staff, the same mentor from his internship at the Trump Organization years ago. "You're doing everything you can," she said gently. "But remember, you can't carry the world alone." Malik nodded, taking a deep breath. "Thank you, Ms. Rodriguez. I needed that." Chapter 19, A Legacy of Hope. Malik's presidency became one of the most transformative in modern history. By the time he left office, the country was stronger, more united, and more hopeful than it had been in decades. His story became a symbol of the American dream, not the fairy tale version, but the real, hard-fought kind. At his farewell address, standing once again before a massive crowd, Malik reflected on his journey. "When I was a boy growing up in Harlem, I never imagined I'd be standing here. I never thought my choices would take me this far. But every one of us has the power to change the world. We just have to believe it's possible." The crowd stood in awe, many wiping tears from their eyes. Malik's words weren't just a farewell, they were a call to action for the next generation of leaders. Epilogue, Full Circle. Years later, Malik walked through Central Park on a quiet spring afternoon. He loved returning to New York after his time in Washington, back to where it all began. As he sat on a familiar bench, a little boy ran up to him, holding something in his hand. "Excuse me, sir," the boy said, out of breath. "You dropped this." Malik looked down and saw his phone in the boy's hand. He chuckled. "Thank you, young man. What's your name?" "Elijah," the boy replied with a shy smile. Malik crouched down to meet his eyes. "Elijah, always remember, small choices can lead to big things. Keep doing the right thing, no matter what." The boy nodded and ran off, disappearing into the park. Malik watched him go, a warm smile on his face. "Full circle," he whispered to himself. And in that moment, Malik knew that his story would live on, not just in history books, but in the hearts of all those who believed that kindness, courage, and the willingness to do what's right could change the world.